Gharab, Tzerek, the shadow of desire, integrated quality, Netzach, endurance and eternity. Netzach, meaning endurance, represents the enduring movement of consciousness through purpose, perseverance, inspiration, desire, and creative expression. It is the force that allows us to continue growing despite difficulty, to remain faithful despite uncertainty, to continue walking even when the destination cannot yet be seen. Netzach is not simply persistence, it is persistence aligned with wisdom. It teaches that true endurance is not stubbornness but devotion to what is worthy. Desire itself is not the problem. Desire is movement. It is the energy that carries life forward. When aligned with truth, desire becomes purpose. Passion becomes service. Ambition becomes contribution. Netzach reminds us that the direction of our desire ultimately determines the direction of our lives. The shadow, Garib Zarek, the shadow of desire. Within the symbolic framework of this book, Garib Zarek represents the fragmentation of desire, where Netzach directs energy toward growth and meaningful purpose. Garib Zarek scatters that energy across endless pursuits that never truly satisfy. Desire loses its center. The individual begins chasing experiences rather than meaning, achievement rather than fulfillment, pleasure rather than purpose. Movement replaces direction, activity replaces intention. Life becomes busy, yet strangely empty. The shadow is not desire itself. Without desire, there would be no movement, no creativity, and no growth. The shadow arises when the desire becomes disconnected from wisdom. Energy becomes scattered, attention becomes divided, purpose becomes forgotten. Repression and suppression. When Garib Zarek becomes repressed or suppressed, desire itself begins to feel dangerous. The individual stops dreaming, stops creating, stops pursuing meaningful goals. Passion becomes buried beneath fear or fear of failure. Joy becomes postponed. Ambition becomes confused with selfishness. Life gradually becomes predictable, yet lifeless. The individual survives, but no longer truly lives. Suppressing desire does not create peace, it creates stagnation. The fire remains, it simply burns beneath the surface. Possession. When Garib Zarek becomes possessed, desire becomes endless. Nothing feels sufficient. The next achievement, the next relationship, the next purchase, the next success, the next experience, the mind continually whispers, just one more. Yet fulfillment never arrives because desire has become detached from purpose. Rest becomes impossible. Contentment becomes unfamiliar. The individual spends life chasing movement without asking where it is leading. Desire becomes addiction. Ambition becomes compulsion. Success becomes an identity that can never be satisfied. The fire no longer illuminates the path, it consumes it. Universal pattern, Garib Zarek represents the fragmentation of movement itself. The life force of consciousness becomes scattered rather than directed. Motion replaces meaning. Collective unconscious. Collectively, Garib Zarek appears wherever cultures glorify endless productivity, consumption, competition, and perpetual achievement without asking what any of it ultimately serves. Humanity becomes increasingly busy while feeling increasingly disconnected. The pursuit becomes more important than the purpose. Individual psyche within the individual Garib Zarek appears through restlessness, dissatisfaction, compulsive striving, fear of stillness, comparison, scattered attention, and the unconscious belief that fulfillment always exists somewhere beyond the present moment. The psyche continually seeks completion outside itself while rarely pausing long enough to discover what it truly longs for. 4. The world in daily life, Gharab Tzerek, becomes visible through our actions. We overcommit, we constantly chase new goals without completing old ones. We struggle to rest, we seek distraction whenever silence appears. We move from one pursuit to another without asking whether any of them reflect our deepest values. We confuse activity with purpose. Our behavior reveals whether our desire is consciously directed or unconsciously scattered. Reflection. Spend a few moments observing your relationship with desire. Ask yourself, what truly motivates my actions? Do I pursue what is meaningful or simply what is immediately rewarding? Where have I stopped dreaming because of fear? Where do I continually seek one more before allowing myself to feel enough? Do my daily actions reflect my deepest values? Am I moving with purpose or merely moving? Recognition is the beginning of redirection, for every life is ultimately shaped by what it consistently pursues.